All right, good morning, everyone. We are so excited. We went over 300 people here on a Super Saturday holiday weekend, a Labor Day weekend, and boy, that tells me that there's some exciting stuff going on because we all know it now, and we can see that you all know it, and we're glad to have all of you here. This morning, we have Dr. Fred Templeman calling in from Thailand, after midnight in Thailand, and he is with us on Skype to talk to us about the amazing X926 product. We have 200K Premier Gregg Adair. Gregg Adair is going to talk to us about this amazing X926 opportunity, and then is going to go into a training, a fast start training, and tell us how he is contacting people on his team, former members, current members, and future members to talk about this amazing opportunity. So let me just go into a couple of things first before I turn the time over to Dr. Templeman and talk about the product. Just talk a little bit about this opportunity. XANGO is the opportunity company. There's success factors in XANGO that are undeniable. Their executive team, the first product they launched, and now this one, their distribution method and their proven track record. A lot of it has to do with this amazing executive team. These founders that have over 100 years of experience in the past before XANGO, bringing products to market, building brands, crossing borders, international, and amazing experience bringing products to market. And of course, they did it with the juice then, and now they're doing it again with X926. Let's just talk about this XANGO juice that launched in November of 2002. In the first 5 years, they built a $1 billion brand, and of course now there's over $2 billion in worldwide sales. They're doing business in 40 countries. They've created over 120 millionaires. They've put out over 4 million checks because of this original mangosteen formula, and there's just some of the accolades that they've accomplished through the first 10 years. Let's talk about the anti-aging market, a $300 billion market. This is the next frontier. This is what the next thing that XANGO is taking on, and let's look at it. First of all, let's cover some of the symptoms of aging. Cardiovascular disease, heart disease, low energy, low immune function, bone density, muscle loss, weight gain, hormone imbalance, muscle atrophy, memory loss, lack of stamina, oxidative stress, inflammation, wrinkles, aging spots, and now there's an answer with this code name X926 launching on September 26th. Some of the key benefits: it supports healthy DNA function, cellular energy production, improves mental and physical stamina, aids the body in stress management, helps reduce bodily fatigue, supports cardiovascular health by improving circulation, helps accelerate muscle regeneration and growth, balances hormone levels for improved sexual wellness, improves mood and well-being, provides antioxidants to combat free radicals because of these three amazing key blends: a cellular regeneration, a rejuvenation, and the cardiovascular. And to talk about those, we have with us on the line, all the way from Thailand, Dr. Fred Templeman. Dr. Templeman is a primary care physician, board certified in both the United States and Canada, with over 20 years of clinical experience. As medical director of phytoceutical research, Dr. Templeman is internationally sought after as a speaker and author on health, nutrition, and healing properties of the mangosteen. Dr. Templeman and his wife, Michelle, are the parents of 10 children. They currently reside in Utah. So without any further ado, let me turn the time over to Dr. Templeman to tell us about this amazing X926 product.
Well, thank you very much, Collie. As background for this, I just want to say a couple of words about aging. First of all, there are a number of theories of aging. There are at least 7 or 8 well-worn theories. Some of them are fairly recent, but others have been around since the 50s. And when you decide exactly how you're going to approach the question of anti-aging, you pretty much have to decide which one of these theories you're going to endorse. And from looking at the makeup of the new product that XANGO is putting out, it appears to me that along with what they've already done before, they are endorsing the 3 major areas and theories of aging. One of them is called mitochondrial dysfunction, and this is the gradual lack of energy that accompanies aging. And it is brought about because the mitochondria, and that may be a term that people are familiar with, it's a subcellular organelle that actually is responsible for producing what is called adenosine triphosphate, the energy bonds that produce virtually all of the energy for the body. And as we age, the number of those mitochondria in our different tissues, and they're in every cell, decline. And the actual function of the mitochondria which remain can be hampered largely through free radical damage. And that's the second theory, the free radical theory, with the idea that we all understand that free radicals are unpaired electrons that seek to pair themselves up with whatever they come in contact with, and they do damage through that. And the free radical theory of aging says that the result of this gradual decline due to the free radical damage that goes on over the decades of our life is the reason why we age. And the third, the more recent of the theories, but the one that seems to be gaining the greatest traction at the present time in the supplement industry, is what is called the telomere theory. Now, telomeres are the small bundles at the end of DNA that actually shorten as time goes on. Every time that a cell changes, there is a very slight degradation of the telomere. And so telomere theory states that when we are conceived, we have about 15,000 beads, if you wish, on our, we have 15,000, they're called base sets, but they're gradually getting reduced so that by the time of birth, we're down to about 10,000. And at the time that we're down through life, and get to 5,000, and that can be at a very different chronological age for different individuals depending on how they've lived. That's when we get to the point of senescence and when our cells stop actually doing the jobs that they're supposed to do. Cancer takes over, other diseases of aging take over, and so XANGO appears to have endorsed those three major theories of aging, which are all interlinked, by the way, and which produce sarcosenescence, meaning the gradual decline of our intellectual capacity. Neurosenescence is linked to that. It's the decline that takes place in the nervous system of the body. Immunosenescence is a third one of these elements of aging, where in fact you get a decline in the effectiveness of the immune system as you age. And finally, cardiovascular decline. And the elements that XANGO has chosen to put into the 926 product address all of those elements that are of aging. Now, Sandy and I were talking yesterday. Sandy, are you there? You can hear me? Sandy, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm muted out. I'm muted out. Sorry.
I'm sorry about that. Sandy and I were talking, and Sandy said, make sure that you let the people understand that the new product, 926, fits into the picture of the other products that XANGO has already elaborated. And I talked to her at that time about an archway into aging. You have to pass through a process of doing something about the actual things that happen to your body as you age. And in order to do that, even though 926 is the capstone of that archway, we have the mangosteen juice, which is foundational and is a centerpiece also of 926, by the way. And we have the essential vitamin mineral complexes in 365. We have Reload, and we have Ignite. And all of those products, even though two of them were not conceived as anti-aging, but were actually conceived for the folks who were working out in gyms regularly. That's the Reload and the Ignite. They have great impact as far as anti-aging is concerned by simply using a little bit more of them than you would if you were using them only for workout purposes. Now, XANGO has grouped the 9 different elements that are found in the product into 3 blends. One of them, because all aging is cellular, everything that happens and goes wrong starts first at the cells. And then, of course, the cells make up tissues, tissue make up organs, and the organ systems of the body, of course, are where we find the problems with our aging. But they have the mangosteen, which is central to this product, in there in large quantities. The other day I was reviewing another one of the products that gets a lot of coverage out there in the anti-aging territory, and I noted that it had 32 different ingredients. And even though it has the endorsement of some fairly well-known folks in the anti-aging industry, I think that they may have been really kind of uncomfortable with the endorsement that they had to give, because quite frankly, when you are working with products at the macro level, in other words, when you have to try and find a place for the actual substance in an adequate amount to make a difference, you cannot put 32 things into a single product. That is just not possible. You will end up having something that is conceived largely by marketers in order to have buzzwords on the label, but when you start to look down and drill down and take a look at how much of each of these 32 elements is there in the product, you find that it is an insubstantial amount and certainly won't correlate when you start to look at PubMed and the studies which will be done on that. They will not correlate with the volume of the material that is there. But XANGO has put a large amount of the same amount, for example, in perhaps one of the key things is the short-chain lychee polyphenols, and that's also part of the cellular rejuvenation blend. But they have got the volume of product in their X926 that is used in the studies that exist on PubMed and elsewhere. The same is true of the mangosteen, and the same is true of the silagin. And those are the first 3 that we want to talk about, the lychees, polyphenols. Now, the product that XANGO has chosen, and there are many products out there from the lychee fruit, but the product that XANGO has chosen is particularly important because it has been manipulated in a very beneficial way. When you start to talk about natural products and you're taking them orally, the unfortunate fact is that for most natural products, less than 5% are ever absorbed. And the common percentage is around 1 to 2% of absorption. So you need to do something to be able to maximize the bioavailability or the absorption capacity of the elements that are in there. And with the polyphenols from lychee, they were very, very large in their natural state. And what has happened in this is that in a process using enzymes, kind of like little clippers, they were broken down from polymers into dimers, monomers, and trimers. In other words, very, very small. And when the comparison was done in one study to be able to see how much of a pure lychee extract would be absorbed into the blood in terms of polyphenols that could be identified in the blood, when you looked at the refined version with the polymers having been clipped to dimers, monomers, and trimers, it was over 5 times greater. So you really do have a product that XANGO has gone around and looked at. I went to Japan and spent a whole week in a conference where they did nothing except talk about these short-chain polyphenols from the lychee and the various things that they do. There are over 30 papers, for example, in the last few years, in the last 5 years, on PubMed about this, many of them in the British Journal of Nutrition, which is a rather prestigious publication, and it addresses primarily neurosenescence. In other words, the decline in intellectual capacity, the problems that we have when we age with memory and with learning and retention, There are lots and lots of animal studies. There are not too many human studies, but there are lots of studies on animals indicating that the short-chain polyphenols from the lychee plant really do address the problems that are there. Now, they're not the only thing that addresses it. In fact, there was almost as many studies that I heard at that conference that were talking about athletic performance as there was about cellular maintenance and sarcosenescence. So it really was, not sarcosenescence, but neurosenescence. And so it really was an important find for XANGO to be able to put that in there and to put it in the same amounts that were found in the studies. That's something you will not necessarily find in competing products out there. Now, a couple of words about the Shilajit. The Shilajit is the most commonly used extract in Ayurvedic medicine. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, Ayurveda is the major complementary medicine paradigm in India. And even though India produces a lot of the standard sort of doctors that we have in modern medicine, nonetheless, the Ayurvedic structure is extremely broad and extremely deep in Indian society. And the Shilajit, which is a humic extract, it's believed to have been compressed by the rocks, but it actually oozes out between rocks in the high Himalayas. It's humic in nature in the sense that the plants from millennia ago that were trapped and buried have become digested, if you wish, in a way by the bacteria that are there. And that Shilajit oozes out, and animals seek it out. They've been using it for centuries in India and elsewhere in Chinese medicine as well. And so that is there, and in every, it's electrolytic in nature. Those of you who understand what electrolytes are, you'll understand that they are the charged particles of usually minerals in the body that are used to control the electrical work in the body. Sandy, I didn't hear your message there. My computer shut down, so send me that message again. I apologize. So the Shilajit is something that hasn't got a lot of literature on it in PubMed, for example. Very different from the mangosteen, where we have 4 papers appearing every month about it. But the Shilajit is something that you're going to see a lot more about, because fulvic acid, which is the major component of the Shilajit, as I suggested, carries about 83 essential elements for the body that are called trace elements and the minerals that we need. And so we're going to see a whole lot more work about that, but for the moment there isn't an awful lot in the literature. It's kind of in the state that the mangosteen was when XANGO adopted it 10 years ago. Now, the mangosteen itself continues to have a lot of scientific research concerning the anti-aging effect through antioxidant, but also there was an interesting study that came out about 2 months ago from the most prestigious anti-aging institute in Germany, and they looked at over 5,000 natural products, and they distilled them down using various criteria to just 11. And of the 5,000, the mangosteen was one of the 11 that was used. And what they were looking at was how would a mangosteen extract affect the aging of a very, very short-lived fungus. Now, certainly we're hopefully not going to make comparisons in a direct kind of a way between this kind of fundamental life form and humans. Nonetheless, it was interesting to note that it did have a very prestigious effect, and interestingly, the effect did not seem to be based on the xanthones, which are the most striking polyphenol in the mangosteen and the one that's receiving all of the interest from the scientists. So there's a lot more that we're going to be learning about the mangosteen in the future as well. Collie, are you still muted out?
I'm here.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. I didn't catch the message that Sandy sent to me on my other screen.
You have a little
You're
bit
fine.
of
I
noise.
just want. Yeah. I just wanted to mention that there's several ways to pronounce Sheila Heat, and I just put in the text box what I found. They pronounce it Sheila Heat. So I just wanted to add that. That's all.
Yeah, Dr. Johnson was calling it Siladhi the other night, and I've heard it pronounced 3 or 4 different ways. I'm not sure the right way, what the right way is, and I guess I'll have to ask an Indian friend. Now, what slide have you got up now, Colleen?
I'm going to the rejuvenation blend slide.
Okay, let's go to the rejuvenation blend, where we're going to be talking about sarcosenescence and leucine, GABA, tribulus, and aloe vera. Now, aloe vera really doesn't need a great deal of introduction to anybody. There are over 4,000 papers on PubMed about aloe vera. It's been around for a very long period of time. Most of us know it having come on the market about 75 years ago in North America from an extraction of a plant that was used by the Indians in the southwest part of the United States and the northern part of Mexico. But in fact, aloe vera has been around for over 6,000 years. And when you go back into the Egyptian pyramids and take a look at some of the inscriptions that they have, you will see that aloe vera was given as a gift at the time of death to the pharaohs to take with them when they crossed over. And so it's been around certainly for a very long period of time. It has a very distinguished and very well researched effects. The interesting thing is that unlike the mangosteen, nobody's ever made a drug out of it. The Japanese have already made a drug out of the mangosteen, so that's kind of interesting. But it is extremely important. We don't have to really beat the drum about it. People know about it. They know less about leucine. Leucine is an amino acid. It is one of the 3 branch-chain amino acids that are the rate-limiting, if you wish, substances that determine how rapidly protein is introduced and built up into muscle. The branch-chain amino acids, and the other 2 are valine and lysine. They are isoleucine rather, excuse me. They are the only amino acids that can also be burned as energy by muscles as well. But there is, again, a critical level of leucine that must be given per dose in order for it to equate to what has been done in the studies that exist in the literature. And once again, XANGO has put that amount into it. And so, again, I would ask you, when you start to look at some of the other competing products that are out there, many of them which, as I suggest, have been Frankensteined into things that are just too complex really to understand and with too many ingredients to be able to be impressed. But take a look at the dosages that they have in there and realize that when you put something in which is going to be very important, and the leucine addresses directly what is called sarcosenescence, or the loss of lean body mass as we age. And for men, for example, that's in excess of 10 pounds per decade after your 30s. Now, I know it's kind of discouraging to realize that we start our decline in the 30s, but that's when we all peak. And we really decline, depending on what we're doing in our lives, more or less from that point on. And the leucine is extremely important because without adequate amounts of the branched-chain amino acids, without adequate protein, and without adequate activity and exercise, you are not going to maintain your muscle mass. Now, you don't lose weight as you get older. In fact, what you do is take the body mass that is muscle and you convert it into an equal amount of fat, which really doesn't do you any good. And unfortunately, very often this is visceral fat. And that visceral fat, which is not in the body wall, but under the body wall into the abdomen, abdomen surrounding the major organs like the liver, the pancreas, etc., is very, very biologically active and extremely detrimental. It produces pro-inflammatory hormone-like substances that are really responsible for the decline in the cardiovascular system and contribute also to the neurosenescence as we lose the capacity that we had as young people to actually learn and retain things. So, by the way, I skipped over something with the lychee that I'll just draw to your attention now. There was a study that was done with a CAT scan. Now, we wouldn't be able to get permission to do that over here, but it was done in the Orient, and they actually scanned the abdomens of people who were on the lychee short-chain polymers, and they saw over a short period of time, relatively, a 15% decline in the visceral fat. And as I've suggested to you, it is extremely important to maintain your muscle and to prevent the translation of that weight into fat tissue in your body as you age, which is the natural tendency to go forward with it. Now, GABA is an amino acid. It's also a neurotransmitter. A neurotransmitter, and there are about 6 of them, are the substances that help take information from one neuron to the next in the brain. And some of you are familiar with the term serotonin, because so many of the antidepressant medications are anti-serotonergic. They actually inhibit the reuptake of serotonin. But GABA is involved in not only the regulation of what we would consider to be anxiety and stress. It's something that is considered to be a calming effect, and it has effect all over the body, not only in the brain. And so by putting it in there, we're addressing the aspect that goes along with aging that has to do with stress. Now, many of us, I imagine, would think of old age as a time of reduced stress. But you only have to ask those people who are aging and who are encountering chronic disease, etc., to understand that most people, as they move through life and into old age, experience a great deal of stress that arises from new challenges that they haven't had to face before in their life. And so it's important to have something that is going to address that stress aspect. And Elovive is also one of the blocks that I consider to be anti-aging because it does affect stress. When you look at the telomere theory of aging, people who are stressed, and I'm talking here about psychological stress and not physical stress, but people who are stressed have shorter telomeres. They appear to be older when you start to look at the DNA in their cells. Okay, can we move on to the next slide?
All right, we're on the cardiovascular blend now.
Okay, good. Now, when those people who have been reading and watching about things in the cardiovascular area have certainly heard of resveratrol. Resveratrol is it's not principally an antioxidant, but it came into the attention in the supplement market as an antioxidant. And very important not only in the anti-aging process, but also in the maintenance of the cardiovascular system. And resveratrol is found in the skin of grapes. The actual seeds of grapes are a little bit different. They have been around for really quite a long time. Some of the studies, for example, that are linked to the grape seed extract are studies that talk about diabetic retinopathy. This is the kind of small vessel disease that people who are diabetics get, and diabetes is a large cause of the blindness that exists in our populations. Chronic venous insufficiency, the swelling of legs, edema, the problems that we have with the venous system as we get older, varicose veins, etc. There have been a number of studies about grapeseed extract indicating that there is some beneficial effect of that. There are a number of studies about their antioxidant effects. And there are quite a few studies about cancer prevention and colon cancer, breast cancer, prostatic cancer. All have been mentioned in numerous studies. There is an effect for sarcosenescence here from the grapeseed as well, as there are a number of studies about Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline. So it's really primarily cardiovascular support, but it leaks across into the other areas effectively as well. Now, do we have anything else on there that was linked into that? The tribulus I didn't deal with in the last one. Let me just say a little bit about tribulus. Tribulus helps to regulate hormones. There is a prohormone or a signal that comes from the brain in the form of what is called luteinizing hormone that actually tells the testes and the ovaries how much testosterone they ought to be producing. Testosterone is extremely important for both females and males. Very often we tend to overlook its effect in females, but it's very important. And so the tribulus works by stimulating LH and increasing the ratio of testosterone to cortisol. Cortisol is an aging hormone, something that leads to the development of belly fat, and really is just not desirable at all. It's one of the things that Elaviv addresses, that same imbalance, but Elaviv does it in a different way than the tribulus does, so the two of them would be complementary. The beetroot, as you may know, is a source of nitrate coming from the vegetable kingdom into our body as a nutrient. The body then reduces that nitrate to nitrite and can convert that nitrate in the presence of arginine, a key amino acid, one of the things that is in the Ignite, to nitric oxide. And if any of you have not had the chance to take a look at the publication by Dr. Luis Ignaro, he was the American doctor who, along with two others, received the Nobel Prize in 1999 for the nitric oxide discovery and elaboration. But the beetroot is a source that the body can use to keep the endothelial system inside all of the arteries and veins of the body in better shape, and to address the cardiovascular risks that exist, particularly in our society where we unfortunately do not eat particularly well. Now, there's an awful lot of things to deal with here, and I hope we've got a few questions that will help me be able to target down a little bit. I must admit, I'm kind of critical of what I've done here this evening. I just haven't been all that well organized, and I apologize for that.
Dr. Templeman, you're wonderful. Don't worry about that at all. This is all about free lawn, and we're all just grateful for all the information that we can get. I don't think any of us have any of it completely organized yet, because we're just gathering this information and figuring out how to present it the very best. So we're so grateful. Yes, we have a lot of questions, and what I want to do here is put up this slide that I was just creating as you were speaking, because I realized that I was showing pictures on the first blend and didn't have the name showing on the screen. People were asking me how to spell Sheila Heat. Here it is. I just put this together so you can see it on the screen. Now, some of the questions that are asked, I'm just going to answer, because there was some confusion, I guess, when we talked about 3 blends. Some people thought it was 3 different products, taken 3 different times a day. So no, these 3 blends are in one product. They're asking how it comes. It's in a powder. So very much like it's just the same thing, the same powder packs that we have our Vail Pro products in right now, where you just open up a little pack, put it in water and drink it. And it's recommended to take 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. So those things I know because I've been using the product, and that answers a whole bunch of the questions. So just like your Limitless, your Ignite, your Reload, they're in packages like that, powder, open, put it in water 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. These 3 blends are in this one product that you take 1 time before bed, and it works on us while we're sleeping, helping us. So that's the majority of those questions that I just wanted to answer real quickly. Now, here's all the doctor questions.
Okay.
Are there any concerns with drugs, meds, or other supplements that anyone may be using for them to begin with this product?
Well, there are no obvious. Now, again, I must tell you, I have not got into this to the depth that I intend to get into it before we go to convention, where you will be able to hear much more of this from Dr. Morton and I. But to my knowledge, thus far in my reading, this is not recommended for pregnant or nursing women. So that would be one of the exclusions that would be there. As far as drug, food, supplement interactions, I do not anticipate that there are any. There is a little bit of what is called monoamine oxidase inhibition in the tribulus, but that exists in catechins, that exists in epigallocatechin gallate, and so many other things, and it's so small that it's never been considered a major problem in the past, and I don't anticipate that there will be any kind of suggestion that people will not be able to use this with medications. Nonetheless, it is always wise to tell your doctor what you are using, so that they can be aware of the potential for interactions that are there. But I don't see any that leap off the page to me as I look at it.
All right, great. And I'm hoping everyone had a chance to see the slide with the spelling, because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, while I'm doing the Q&A with Dr. Templeman, I'm going to turn the screen over to Gregg Adair so he can get prepared for his portion. So Gregg, I'm turning it over to you now, and when you're ready and have your slide, you can hit start and put it on your first slide. But I just turned it over to you now. All right, Dr. Templeman, does fulvic acid help the body detoxify from heavy metal accumulation?
The answer to that is yes. It doesn't happen in a rapid sort of thing, but when you're using fulvic acid containing elements, and certainly the sludget is one of them, you do get the binding with the heavy metals that are in the body and a gradual extrusion of them as they are rendered water soluble.
Great. Is there any interaction between X926 and Ignite?
Well, X926 in the polyphenols from lychee has an element in it that also releases nitric oxide. In fact, about half of the people who are going to be taking the X926 are going to notice a flushing. Dr. Johnson threw some slides up the other day when he was talking in his Thursday meeting. No, he didn't do it then. He did it with the leaders before. But they have what are called thermograms. And the people who were using the short-chain polyphenols from lychee found that they would have a kind of a flushing feeling, not a niacin sort of flush, but the same kind of thing that some people have experienced with the Ignite. And it's because of the nitric oxide effect that is present in both products. So will they interact? No, they would be additive if you took them together, and you really can't have too much nitric oxide around, so it's not dangerous.
Great. As a matter of fact, I've heard that it's recommended. Every night at bedtime, I take my Reload, my Ignite, and my X926 together, and it just is an amazing feeling in the body to fall asleep to. I think that's what most people are going to find. Yeah. Another question. I know that it said that X926 should not be taken by someone that's pregnant or nursing, but what if the person is trying to get pregnant?
I would not think that would be a problem. In fact, many of the very subtle things that contribute to the lack of conception or problems with fertility are sometimes addressed by natural products which have an anti-inflammatory effect. And certainly this one does.
Great. Any concerns with people on various medications?
No, as I suggested again, I must tell you that I haven't gone through the P450 enzyme system and reactivity with what could potentially happen, but I have looked, across the spectrum of the elements that are in there, and I don't see anything that leaps off the page telling me that there's likely to be a problem.
Do you recommend X926 to someone who's had a kidney transplant?
Yes, I don't see any reason why they could not use it.
Does it help with anxiety or sleep?
Yes, it will help with the anxiety component that is often involved in insomnia, and that is a direct effect of the GABA dosage, and that's why we take it in the evening.
Has research been done on these ingredients that affect on age-related macular degeneration?
Yes, there are 3 or 4 papers about macular degeneration that have come out of the various ingredients. So yes, there is some effect on macular degeneration. It's again theoretical, not human studies, but they've looked at what happens in macular degeneration, and the small vessel pathology that is involved appears to be affected in a beneficial way by the ingredients that will be in the product.
Can potential customer get substantial benefits by only using X926?
I would think that X926 could be standalone. I would not suggest that, as again, I've told you that I believe that 365, Elevive, the Juice, the Ignite, and the Reload all go together, but certainly you would get a benefit from the X926 that would be sustainable and something that most people would be able to discern, even if you didn't use any of the other things with it.
Great. There were several questions in here. By the way, I think I see some questions going up in the chat box. I can't monitor all those, so if you've got a question, you need to make sure you put it in the Ask a Question box in the upper left corner of your screen. There were several people in here asking about different studies you were talking about, but I don't know which ones they were talking about then. And I would just say, I know you're right, you're working on putting these studies together in a book. Could you just tell us about
That's correct.
You're working on to have out at convention so that we have access to the data?
Well, I don't know what XANGO is going to ask me to do. I work under their direction. I do have some ideas of my own about what I'd like to see. There really is a lot that has been organized and put together about some of the elements in here, meaning specifically the mangosteen. So people may be familiar with a great deal of the studies that back up the mangosteen and its effects. Some of the others, and I indicated too that you're not going to find a whole lot about sledging. It's been in Ayurvedic medicine. It's traditional. It's something where fulvic acid is coming into its fore and being investigated about some of the Alzheimer's effects. For example, fulvic acid has been shown to decrease the intracellular precipitation of something called tau, T-A-U protein, that along with the neurofibrillary tangles are the two major problems in Alzheimer's. So it's been shown to fulvic acid has been shown to have some beneficial effect in animal studies in that regard. So we're going to see a lot more about the sledge. There won't be a whole lot in terms of current studies about it in the literature, but you will see it in the future. Dr. Johnson said he thought that it was going to be it was going to make as big a stir in the scientific scene as the xanthones did.
Great, and I see more questions again. I just want to be very clear. This just came in a few minutes ago, so how will a person know which blend of X926 is best for them? So let me be clear.
Oh, yeah.
one product. X926 is a single product. There's 3 different blends of ingredients all in this one product. There is not 3 different products. It's one product, and in that one product, there are all these ingredients. There's 3 different blends of ingredients. One is cellular regeneration, one is cardiovascular, that all are in this one single product. There are not 3 products, it's one product.
Right.
Here's a question. Checking out Sheila Heath, I read that there could be a problem with overload of minerals like iron and maybe even heavy metals. Would this be an issue with X926?
Once again, I tell you, I am not as versed in Shilajit as I would like to be, but nothing that I have seen about it indicates that if it's properly prepared, you don't just go up and lick this stuff off the rocks like the animals do. It has to be purified and extracted. So you're getting an extract of the sludge, you're not getting what oozes out from the rock. And I would assume that in that kind of preparation, there is certainly going to be a screening for anything that would be a contaminant.
Here's a great question. Would the hormone balancing benefit cause one to move from menopause back into premenopause?
No.
Darn. No. What benefits of taking the X926 with the XANGO juice? And by the way, there's several questions in here, so I'm going to relate them all. I'm going to ask you them all together about the XANGO juice. So I have some questions if somebody could only afford one or the other, and I would like to address that and say, with the Nothing Beats Free program, everybody can afford to take both. Sorry. All right, with the Nothing Beats Free program, everybody can take both because you can get a case of juice with XANGO and you can get a month's supply of X926 on Nothing Beats Free, and you can get them both free. So I just want to say that we want to be taking both of them. But and I know that XANGO juice has a whole lot more health benefits than just the anti-aging benefits. So I'm sure the anti-aging benefits they could get with the X926. But there's a lot of questions in here about the juice. So could you just address how they would work together synergistically and what they're going to lose if they're not drinking the juice?
Well, the juice is foundational. There's no question in my mind. 926 is going to be a very interesting product, but the juice is the juice. And the data that exists on the juice, remember that 926 has the collective data of its ingredients, but the mangosteen itself has got 4 papers coming out every month from universities all around the world just about its xanthones. That's how dynamic the mangosteen is becoming. It certainly wasn't that dynamic 11 years ago when the company introduced it. It's been the fact that the company has put this juice into 43 different markets around the world that has stimulated the interest of clinicians looking at people using it and deriving benefit and having the scientists question, where is that benefit coming from? And that's why the studies are taking place. So you're not going to see the literature about 926. That's just not going to happen. It's a proprietary blend. You will be able to look at the science that exists, the basic science that exists about the elements which are found within it, but the mangosteen will always have the overwhelming evidence that is there. And when you start to use natural products, you use them at least partially based on the scientific weight that lies behind them. And there is no question in my mind that the mangosteen is the heavyweight in the XANGO inventory, the mangosteen juice.
Great. All right. We have 22 more questions. I'm going to run through these really super quick, and some of them are together. And
You know, you can have them send. You can send them to me by email. With the people's people can send it to me at my email. My email is jftempleman66@gmail.com. That's jftempleman, my initials and my name, 66@gmail.com, and I will answer.
Great. And I just put also mypowersystemteam@gmail.com. I put both that and your address in the chat box because
Good.
any questions you have, we would love you to copy us on them because we're putting together for corporate a list of frequently asked questions. So on the opportunity, on the comp plan, on the products, on anything, if it's product related, send them to Dr. Templeman, copy us. If it's business related, to send to us. We'd like to gather them for corporate so that they can see the most commonly asked questions.
Well, I'll certainly copy my answers to you, Colleen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Because it's almost 1 in the morning there, we're going to go through a few more questions. So don't ask any more in here. We definitely also want to get to Gregg Adair's portion of this business training, obviously, getting 926 info. We're going to have so much more at convention that will be presented in a way that we'll have information in our hands with studies and all kinds of things. So I'm going to not address, there's a whole lot of people with specific health questions that I'm going to leave that part of it alone, only because, as Dr. Templeman said, he hasn't read up on every single health condition and everything, but he's not seeing any issues right now or any reason to be concerned. So I'm going to take that answer that you've already given to so many to all these individual health questions.
Okay.
There was a question in the about a myth of, hold on a second, testosterone. It was in the chat box, and let me, all right. It says, sorry, can you address the, Sandy, ask it. I'm trying to find it. There's somebody that just came in that I'm having a hard time getting to that one.
Yeah, some of the people are asking with, I think it's Tiberius or whatever, however you say it.
Tribulus.
That
Yeah.
Tribulus, about the myth that it would create too much testosterone in the body.
No.
So I think people are asking to just have that clarified.
Okay. First of all, we're talking about an anti-aging product, and when you start to look at testosterone production in the human, whether we're talking males or females, you're going to see a decline starting in about the late 20s, the beginning of your 30s, and it's about 1% per year in males. So I don't think anybody's going to be overloaded who's going to be taking this. Teenagers are probably the only ones that don't have any concerns or worries about this. But as soon as a woman gets on birth control pills, for example, there goes all her testosterone. So excessive amounts of testosterone, people who have diagnosed breast cancer or diagnosed prostate cancer, the breast cancer types which are hormone sensitive, they should not use anything that could stimulate the production of testosterone. But those are specific cases.
Great. Okay.
Wait, Colleen. Are you saying, Dr. Templeman, that if somebody has had breast cancer or is going through breast cancer, they should not be on X926 or LSD,
yes,
for that matter?
Yes, that's correct. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Now,
so
not every kind of breast cancer, but there are hormone positive and hormone negative breast cancers, and it's the hormone positive ones that are concerns. And that's my personal opinion. Every doctor may not agree with me.
Okay, so a lot of these questions that are in there, what if I'm taking this drug or that drug? What about if I have this condition or that condition? So other than a hormone imbalance related health condition, is there anything else that you're seeing that you just, I mean, the jury's out, right? You just need more information.
Yeah, I have not yet gone through the metabolism of all of these. There is the liver detoxification system that is set up, and it's got what is called the P450 enzyme system, and it's very, very complex. And some of these elements that are in the product have not even been studied to show how they're metabolized by the body. Others have been, but I have not gone that deeply into the literature to take a look at if any of them are heavy accented as far as P450 concerns. I really can't tell you that right now, but I don't see anything, like I say, that leaps off the page. In other words, from my general knowledge, I don't see anything that's worrisome.
Great. Okay, so a couple things I'm going to address from all these questions and ask you a final question. Asking a lot of things about the age group and that should be taking this. So we've seen a lot of research that the aging process starts at 30. So we know that it's recommended for anybody from 30 and above. So one question is, what about people under 30 years old? Is there any age group that should not be taking this product?
I don't think you need it until you're about in your late 20s or 30s. Your 30s. I can't see any reason why you should be taking it prior to that if you haven't got a diagnosed problem. That would be my opinion.
Great. And there's several questions in here, so I'm going to ask you all. I'm going to lump these all together about different age-related things. There's questions. Is there any benefit for Parkinson's? How about Alzheimer's? Age-related hearing loss? Age-related arthritis? So there's several.
Well, okay. Let me separate those out. The first ones, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, along with the normal kind of decline that exists in people who don't have either Parkinson's or Alzheimer's dementia, they still can have age-related memory decline. And all three of these would be addressed by anything that is going to increase the protection of the brain against the aging process. And that's what most of these products are intended to do. So the answer would be there are theoretical benefits in all of those situations.
All right, wonderful. Wow, there's still so many more questions, Doc, and it's after 1 a.m. there. So Dr. Templeman has given his email address out. I'm going to give more of that out again in just a moment, but we have another 20 that have come in, and I just entered another 20. We're going to have lots of questions, folks, and of course this is launching on September 26th in Salt Lake City at convention. We certainly hope that every single person can find a way to get there if you're not already registered, whether you have to drive, whatever it takes to get there. This is the biggest event that's ever taken place in all of XANGO history, and you will be getting access to all of this information, to everything on the product and the studies and everything. And again, we're just beginning with this. This information is just starting to go out to people. So rather than ask all these additional ones, and I'm sorry to cut off the questions, let me just tell you a couple of things. And Greg, if you could let me know if you are ready to share your screen and have all that. Maybe you could share it on the slide that you're going to be starting with, so I can just see that pop up and know that you're ready. Perfect. Thank you so much. So all I want to do is let everyone know that there are some places that you can go, and after Greg's presentation, I'll take back the screen and show them to you. But right now, I will just tell you, our blog is at, and I'm putting this in the chat box, ourpowersystem.com. That is the blog that has all the webinars on it, but it also will have the recording to this webinar by later tonight, either by tonight or first thing in the morning. Probably by tonight will be the recording that you'll be able to send out to folks. It'll be just posted on the blog. The other place is on Facebook at facebook.com/mypowersystem. My Power System is the system. Our Power System is the blog. But on that Facebook group, it'll also be posted there. You'll be able to access it both on Facebook and on the blog, and be able to send it out to folks who missed this. Our team email, again, is mypowersystem@gmail.com. That's going in the blog. In the chat. Any questions that you have that get sent there will be forwarded on to the appropriate person to answer them. And then Dr. Templeman's email again is JF for John Frederick, Templeman 66@gmail.com. So if your product question did not get addressed, please forward that to Dr. Templeman. Copy us so that we've got it so we can forward it to XANGO and they know the questions that are being asked out there. And with that, Dr. Templeman, do you have any closing words you'd like to leave us with about X926?
Well, I would like to suggest to people that I think XANGO is going the right way in not being using hyperbole about the claims that they're going to be making. You know, we can affect aging. We can manage aging exactly the same way that we manage our finances, either wisely or unwisely. And 926 is going to be a great asset for those who are going to pay enough attention to the aging process that as the years accumulate, they are not going to be carrying the full weight of what happens in aging if they are making choices of lifestyle and supplementation that are appropriate. And so I'm really glad to hear that we're not talking about reversing aging, because that's not there yet. What we can do is affect the aging process through the antioxidant system, through the support and protection of the telomeres and the other elements that are under our control. We cannot stop aging. And I'm glad to see that we're talking about managing it and not stopping it.
Dr. Templeman, thank you so much. We so appreciate you. We'll see you in just a few weeks at the convention, and we hope your noise in your hotel has calmed down enough and you can get some much-deserved sleep tonight.
Well, thanks very much, Collie. Thank you, Sandy. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, obviously. Bye-bye.
All right, Sandy, why don't you go ahead and introduce our next speaker who's going to cover the opportunity with X926 and some business training.
Okay. Let me know when the countdown begins.
You know what? That's a good point. I think I am going to stop this recording and restart it because we had that Q&A in the middle. So hold on a second.
Right. Okay. I assume Gregg is ready.